with a video. And so I'd like you guys to just kind of take a look at this video that I've got, just to start this off.
Communication skills. This is my message to the world, and it's that you may be technically brilliant, you may be technically a 10 out of 10 with what you do. However, if your ability to communicate is a 3 out of 10, do you think people perceive you to be a 10 out of 10 or 3 out of 10? We're only as good as we can communicate. I ask you to continually work on your technical skills because that's important. But don't forget about your ability to communicate, your ability to be influential, because you are only as good as you can communicate. And I find that if you get brilliant technically, you become undeniable with your technical skill. You become undeniable with your communication skills. And what happens, the tie all together, is reality truly becomes negotiable. You can negotiate whatever reality you desire.
Yes, it was a TikTok.
Wow.
So I don't have TikTok, but I love to scroll through TikTok. It's a little minor addiction of mine. And, you know, I love to see certain things that come up on there. There's just such a variety of items. And so this guy, he teaches communication. And that is his sole purpose, you know, in life, is to teach communication. And so just in listening to some of the things he says, it brought me to a different level, you know, of awareness. And so I wanted to start this off by talking to you guys a little bit about, you've all noticed the shift in the market, right? Like anybody that's been in the industry for several years, we've noticed a definite shift in the market. And it took place, I want to say, I really noticed it last summer. So last summer when interest rates, you know, went up last year, and things just started to happen in our market share. And so the thing that I always talk about is how in this type of market, this is the season of professionals. But what does that mean, right? This is the season for a professional to thrive in. And so another thing I was looking at on Instagram, ironically, is I don't know how many of you follow Tom Ferry. So Tom Ferry put out this reel, and I was just like, it really put pieces together for me, because I know the market share. Like I know that there's a couple thousand agents in Rancho Cucamonga. I know the sales that are going on. You know, I know how many of those agents actually belong to the real estate board, things of that nature. But when he brought this little reel out, and he was talking about how 75% of all transactions are being done or completed by 25% of agents. 75% of deals are being done by 25% of agents, okay? And so what does that tell us? That it is time to refine our skills. It is time to show up in the best way that we can possibly show up. And so we put this communication series together as a second part of our emotional intelligence in business, because it all has to do with each other. Emotional intelligence in business, I feel, is the other piece of the puzzle, but it might seem like a minor piece to the puzzle, but it's actually the most important piece to the puzzle. Because listen to what he just said. If you can't communicate, you can't get your point across. And you're going to appear as if you are not educated in your profession and as if you do not know what it is that you're talking about. Now, another reason, and ironically, this is the funny part also about a market like this, is, Ashley can verify this, the majority of issues that we have with files. Now, by the time a file issue gets to me, that means that it's actually a file issue. Because it is the truth, because, you know, we have very experienced, great agents that they know how to troubleshoot and work their business. So by the time that issue gets to me, then it's an issue. However, what I'm noticing is it's so ironic that the issues that are the majority of issues right now are not transactional. They're not systematic, like because of the system or because of, you know, an actual problem that's in the file. It's generally the relationship and the lack of communication between listing agent and client, selling agent and client, or agent and agent. So for whatever reason, there was a breakdown, right, in the communication during the transaction. And when one person or the other, Sonia just had a beautiful one and she dealt with it amazingly, just kept pouring out the love and the light. But when we have that happen in a transaction, the majority of the time there's, a block in the transaction. And so communication is massively, massively important. And I want to, before I go on to my first slide, to acknowledge everybody that's already spoke, because to dive into a book, I love John Maxwell. Our leadership team did the John Maxwell coaching, I think it was last year. He's phenomenal. Those of you that haven't read his books or looked at his practice, I highly advise that you do. He is an amazing coach and speaker and talks about connection, communication, and business. And so I want to acknowledge all of you guys that have already presented, because it takes a certain level of courage to dive into a book and into readings and then deliver that gift in a way that you are understanding, because all of us sort of perceive things, in a different way. And so to get up here and, you guys so far have done amazing, and I'm super blessed to be a part of this series. I feel like human connection and business, together, it's my passion. It's what I love to do. And the reason why I have the real estate offices, because I think those of you that know my journey know that my base and foundation is real estate investments. However, I have champions, and we're here, it's my heart. It's literally my heart, and I love it. And so it's my passion to talk about these things and to really dive into understanding, these things. Okay, slide 1. Is that slide 1? Okay. I don't remember what I put up there, you guys. You can't speak that which you do not know. You can't share that which you don't feel. You can't translate that which you do not have. You can't give that which you do not possess. To give and share it, and for it to be effective, you first need to have it. Good communication starts with good preparation. I think that you're, move on to 2, Justin, 2 and 3. That was 2. Okay. Any message that I want to deliver, it has to speak to me before it can speak to others. If it hasn't helped me, it can't help others. So the way that I like to look at this is in a simple format. Let's say somebody asks you, to borrow money, right? Well, if you don't have money, can you let somebody borrow money? You don't have it to give. And so if you don't have it to give, then, that's the end of it, right? And so I feel like right now that this communication series is coming at the right time because of the market share. And we have to personally work on ourselves in order to share our ideas and to bring it to life with other people. It's basically the most important thing, that we can do right now, is to refine our skills, because if we don't have it within us, just like anything else, if you don't have the knowledge, you can't share it. If you don't have something, you can't give it. So it's time for us to really dive in and take a look at ourselves so that we have, those gifts to share with other people. And so there's some questions. I think you can move on to the next one. So in the book, they talk about this. And, I actually found this part pretty fascinating. Because when you're preparing to speak to somebody, or when you're going to have a conversation with them, these are some questions that you want to ask. Like, what is it that I want out of the conversation, right? Like, what is it that you want them to see? And so you want people to see their possibilities when you're talking to them. Like you want them to see the possibility of working with you. Like what is it that you're gonna offer them? What gift are you gonna give them? What service are you gonna provide for them? Like in order for the communication to be effective, they have to understand that possibility. So you have to somehow convey that to them. Like what is the possibility? And then, the other one is what do you want them to know? So when you're talking to people, you want them to know your value and their value. Like what is the actual value in this communication? Like what is it that I'm bringing to you? What is it that you're bringing to me? What is this dynamic going to be? Like what is the value, of what you're trying to convey and get across to them? And so I like this next one because I have a little bit of a side note and a deviation from the book on this one. But it says, what do I want people to feel? And so the book talks about people feeling empowered after they leave you. Like you want them to feel like they can do anything after they have a conversation with you. Now, I have a little side note to this because I feel like it has to go both ways, you guys. So when you're working with a client, I've seen far too often, let's say you're working with a client and it's a little bit challenging and from the very first, correspondence you had with them, there might be a little bit of a problem, okay? Like in your mind, wow, this client might be an issue and you feel it. However, you're like, whatever, I'm gonna close it, I'm gonna get paid my commission and move on. What happens there is you're bringing in, a situation where that one client might take up so much of your time, might aggravate you so much, might bring all of this, let's say negative energy, because energy is very real. They may bring that in to your sphere, right? And then you're sitting there thinking about it and you're dealing with this. Well, what happens whenever we have, that we're giving out, it's like a full circle. It's gonna come back into you. And you're gonna bring more negative energy and more stress. So I feel like with this, you both need to feel empowered whenever you're working with somebody, because if it's not a win-win and you're not feeling it and you're not feeling, that connection and feeling empowered, both, not just the client, then it's not gonna be a good dynamic. It just isn't. It's gonna take your time, energy, and block you from other clients that wanna come in and do business with you. So, and I've seen it, time and time again, and sometimes we have to know when to cut that off, right? Because sometimes you're carrying that boulder for so long, like the transaction is halfway through and you don't know if it's gonna close and that boulder's on your back, and you kind of have to know when it is that you're gonna cut that off, and then just cut it off so you can move on and free yourself. And so number 4, what do I want people to do? So after you talk to and meet with people, if you're gonna go in without, let's say, a purpose, like what is your purpose when you go in and you talk to somebody, right? Let's say I have a meeting with one of my team members and I go into the meeting and I have no purpose and I'm not setting any standards and I'm not talking and explaining what it is that I want to, the meeting, like to come out of that meeting. Then you do that and you don't have that, you don't give that individual the opportunity to take action. So if you don't go in with a purpose and you're not eloquent and you don't explain what it is that you need and want in a direct manner, you're not giving the other individual the opportunity to even take action and to fulfill what it is that initial need was. And yet all too often we just, go in to these meetings and we assume that clients are gonna know what it is that they need to do, but they don't. And they don't know what the end result probably even is, how it is that you're gonna deal with their transaction, other people, like have a definite purpose going in, because you, at the end of the day, you want them to sign that listing contract, right? I mean, or you want them to work with you and you want to have that good communication. Number 5, next slide is, okay. We play at the level of our preparation. So this right here is a very, very important one. And this is why I love this segment, just for this part really in the book. Because it clicked and it resonated so much with me. So you guys, you're servicing certain areas, you're realtors, you're dealing with people in the community, and you're dealing with specific clientele, right? I'm gonna give you an example of what this means and how to effectively do this and how then to not effectively do this. Like I have 2 actual samples. When I recruit an agent or when I sit in a recruit, okay? First I'll talk about recruits, and then second I'll talk about property, because I utilize this on both. When I sit in a recruit appointment and potentially have somebody that is gonna join the company, I already know how many properties they have sold. I know whether they're listings, I know whether they're sales, I know their volume, I know what market share they work, I know how many homes they've sold even in the last decade if they've been in the business that long, right? I know what broker they're coming from, I know what brokers they've worked with, I know what the brokers they've worked with offer, I know their programs, I know the area they're in, the commissions. Like I literally go in knowing every single little thing about that client or that appointment. And so I'm prepared. And what preparation does is it makes you confident. It makes you confident in your ability, it makes you confident in your product, and it makes you confident to deliver what they're gonna need. Now, secondary, like let's say I'm trying to purchase a property. I'm gonna know that when I'm trying to purchase a property, if it's units, I'll know the area, I will know the rent rolls, I'll know how much rent they bring in, what the market for rents are, how much that property generates. I'm also gonna know and pay really big attention to appreciated value. So I will know how much that property appreciated over the course of 10 years, because usually a decade is what I like to look at. So I'm going in prepared, right? Now you agents, what it is that you have to do with clients is a lot of times we think, I know the sale price of a home, I know where it's located, and I know how fast it can sell. And then you go in. But you have to go much further than that, like much further in order to be prepared in your business and in your market share. Like you have to know, what area do you service, okay? What schools are in the area? What's the neighborhood like? What's the appreciated value there? How much do homes go up? Because most of the time, first-time buyers or buyers that are purchasing, to move into a home, they're gonna stay there for a while. So you have to know that. You have to know a lot, let's say, about taxation. Even though you're not a tax attorney, I get that, but you need to educate yourselves and you need to know these things. You need to know about turnover in the area. You need to know every single thing about that property too. You can't just go in and then wing it and take a look at, the paperwork and be like, oh, no, you need to know your area. You need to know everything about the area. You need to become a professional in your market share. And that right there, like what it brings you is that confidence, because you can go in to talk to somebody, right? And let's say they have a question about certain things on taxation. Let's say they want to do a 1031 exchange. Let's say they don't know, like their property's in a trust and they're selling it. Like they might have these questions. And I get that we're not supposed to talk about certain things as realtors, but what a beautiful thing it is when you say, you know what, I do believe that when you sell, you might have a tax implication of such and such, potential. Get with your CPA. I'm not supposed to be giving, tax information. However, knowing that information, it makes you a stronger agent, so you can go in with confidence. And you can know that like any situation that you go into, like any client you talk to, you don't have to sit there and say, hold on one second. Let me, get back to you later after I research. Like the power of knowing your market share and knowing your clients and going in with confidence and just really educating yourselves. And that is something, the preparation, the education is something that only you guys can do for yourselves. Because nobody is going to push you to do that. Nobody is going to tell you to do it. And there is no lack of resource out there to learn. You want to learn about a topic, there's classes everywhere about different topics, and it's available for you. So, and before I move on from this, I'll give you an example of what happened to me when I didn't, I actually played at the level of my preparation, which was zero preparation, okay? And I paid the price at playing at a zero level of preparation. When I purchase a single family residence or apartments, okay, I don't play the land game. I never have. I don't know about it. I don't know about, the rules of incorporated, non-incorporated, water rules. Like I've never dived into land, but somebody told me a while ago, oh, this land, 30 acres is for sale up in Victorville, right? Now, did I prepare? Was I prepared to have knowledge? No, I didn't know anything about it. I was like, that sounds good, land, everybody needs land. And so this was the time prior to, like right before 2008, by the way. And that's when, all of us, those of you that have been in the business, prior to 2008, you'll know that if you had a heartbeat and you could, pretty much move, you could sell real estate and make money. Okay, that was the market, like literally. So I was confident as heck at that time. I'm like, si se puede, anything it's gonna work out. And so this land opportunity came about, and yeah, I'll wire $1 million to close on these 30 parcels up there. This is gonna be fantastic. I'm gonna make $1 million. Okay, I knew nothing about land. I bought the land. To this day, I have the 30 acres. I really hope that, if I have grandchildren or great-grandchildren, no pressure. No pressure to my beautiful daughter sitting there, but I hope they see some money, because that land, guess what that land is worth right now? A whopping $250,000. A whopping $250,000. So I may as well have literally rolled my window down in my vehicle and just thrown money out the window and said goodbye, c'est la vie. Zero appreciation, a massive depreciation. That is a lesson, and that is an example of, now that was a costly example, right? But that is an example of going into something with a lack of preparation. And you may not see the effects as big as that. Like you may not see a loss of $750,000, but trust me, when you're not prepared and you go into something, it's those little things, like those little touches, that make a difference in the end. Those little tiny touches that you do make a huge, huge difference in your business in the end. And so that is, anybody want to buy land for $1 million? I have 30 parcels going once. Catherine, you're an investor. You're on it? I'll give you a discount. 500,000. Okay, the slide number 6, or the next slide. Oh, what is this? Okay, I think, you know what? I'm gonna get my precious daughter to read this one. There's a lot of reading here. Can you help me out?
Yes. Prepare myself. Before I speak, I want to prepare myself mentally, emotionally, and experientially. Again, I use questions to make sure I'm ready. I ask, do I know my teaching? I need to spend enough time with my outline, and I know what I'm doing and where I'm going. I typically do this several hours before I speak. Do I feel my teaching? Good communications come from and goes to the hearts of others. Do I live my teaching? When I was in my 20s, I decided I would never deliver a message that wasn't true to me. I would not deliver theories I hadn't tested and lived.
Thank you. A lot of reading. I remember that slide. Being honest. So, go to the next. No, that's good. Read it there. Okay. I'm going to talk a little bit. What I want to talk about is Lala, you're so happy. You're smiling. What I want to talk about with that is that we have to set high standards for ourselves. Okay, going into something and communicating. I'm going to use a little example that I hope can resonate. And so, setting high standards for ourselves means that we need to be aware of ourselves, like what we're doing, how we're talking, how we're showing up, how we're delivering our message, right? Have you ever gone into a meeting with somebody and that individual, you go into the meeting and you know that they're not present, like you know that they're preoccupied, they're fidgeting, they're like you're trying to talk to them, they're not looking at you, they don't have eye contact, they're not present, they're just not there. They're looking at their phone, they're texting, they're looking at they look like they have ADHD, they're all nervous, right? Like we've all been there in a conversation or trying to communicate and talk to somebody. How does that make you feel? It doesn't make you feel good, right? It makes you feel like they don't value your time, unseen, unheard, listened to. So then how do you think that person is going to feel about you servicing their client? They're going to say, wow, that individual, they're so busy that they're not going to even have the time to give my situation any type of attention. I mean, they're a squirrel, they're all over the place. And so hold yourself to a high standard when you communicate with people, like really evaluate yourself. How did I do? How am I showing up? How am I talking to people? Like, how am I expressing myself? Am I connecting? And, vice versa. Like, let's say you go into an appointment and the other person is just fidgety and not present, and they're all over the place. Well, now you're put in a position. What do you do as a realtor? Like, what do you do? And so what you do is, once again, you hold yourself to a high standard and you talk to them and you say, I notice right now, like, you seem to be very preoccupied. The information that I have to give you, it's pretty valuable. I really want you to be able to pay attention and, maybe don't use pay attention, but I want you to be able to be present and to receive all of the value that I have to bring to you. And so, is there a better time, or are you good with continuing the conversation? Because sometimes people are not aware of what they're doing. And believe me, we all act like that texting right now, like in this moment, it's going to make a difference. And it's really not. It's okay to wait a half hour or an hour to answer a text message or a phone call, to be able to be present, with somebody. Or as well, communication. If, let's say, you're busy and somebody is trying to speak with you and it's your client and, you happen to see them or whatever it is, you have to communicate and let people know where you're at the moment. Don't just act busy, like, I don't see that person, they're gonna go away, No, it's all of those little things, those little touches that make a difference in our business and in our lives. That ability to, really talk to people. And so, let's see. Do I have a next slide? When I can answer yes to those questions with integrity, I am ready to communicate. So I love that because it's a matter of being aware of ourselves and going in with intention. And these things, well, I'll go over that at the end. Let's go to our next segment here. I don't want to dive into that, then I'll talk about that for 10 minutes and we'll be here forever. Okay, this one is my favorite. So I chose this one for myself. I did, I admit it. I chose this one for myself. The law of collaboration, some of your best thinking will be done with others. Now, this is so important when it relates to our business and to, communication in general. At Champions, what we do here is, and some of our, girls are here, I see. We have a meeting, right? And so we get together over at escrow, and then we get like our round table together, big round table. And then we all sit at that big round table, and then we all like stare at each other. So, right, like we're all looking at each other, and then escrow is looking at management, and management's looking at escrow, and TCs are, looking at escrow, and like everybody has to sit there and look at each other and be present. But what do we do during that time? All of us, what do? We talk about what is happening in the industry. We talk about what we can do better. We talk about what's not being done so well. We talk about all of you agents. We talk about problem files. We talk about systems that we can bring in that will make us better. We talk about the industry, like what is going on in the industry. We talk about what each other are doing too. Why is it that, I don't know, escrow, you guys are, like, I'm not getting this. Like we literally look at each other and we bring things out so that we can be better as a team. Now, I can't do that on my own. I can't sit there and see everything. I mean, we all have our designated, well, let's say jobs, right? And so I'm not gonna know what is happening in escrow. Escrow's not gonna know what's happening with the TC girls. So we sit there and we look at each other and we throw ideas out so that we can go ahead and, get better at what we're doing as a company. And without that, it's not, you can get to maybe this level because it's only coming from like one or two person's minds, right? But when you collaborate, you can get to a much, much higher level. Now, when you collaborate, I want to talk about one thing actually, and I'm glad I wrote it here because I almost forgot. You want to collaborate with high performers. So what does that mean? So let's take the organization for an example. When I bring people on, I always want to, pay well, very well, but I want them to be high performers. I want them to be self-thinkers. I want them to bring ideas to the company. I want, you have to select the right people to collaborate with, because if you do it with everybody, then obviously all those voices going to be a mess. And so you collaborate with high performers, and you collaborate with people that have both heart and spine. Both heart and spine. That is very important, because believe me, if you try to collaborate with somebody that doesn't have both heart and spine, you're going to run into a ditch listening to them. They have to have both to have integrity and to, really be able to hold themselves and offer value, and vice versa, Next slide. Seek the wisdom of others, not a random crowd, but from a team or a trusted group. Okay. So this one here is so important because, like I just said, you can't collaborate and listen to everybody. Like, you have to select the right people that you want to collaborate with and the right people that you want to, work with. And you have to be willing to open up and listen too. Like, you have to be able to receive it. during a collaboration. I won't name any names, but I had 2 instances in the last few years where this individual is like, no, I don't think that, that is gonna work. Like, that's not a good collaboration, Jennifer. That, especially us women, right? Like, as us women in business, like, we just wanna love everybody, and, we're thinking like everybody is welcome and we love everybody. I wanna help the world. Well, seriously, it's like us women have that natural instinct a lot of the time. A lot of us do. And so this person told me, no, I don't think that that's going to be a really great idea. Like, and I was like, doesn't know what you're talking about. Like, it is. And then lo and behold, it backfires. And then I went on to a second individual, and the same person's like, I don't think so. Like, that's not a good idea. But what did I not do in my collaboration? So we have to stop and pause. When somebody that is in like our trusted group of people, when they tell us something, we have to pause and we have to stop. And then what we do is we listen to what they said and we think about it and we ask questions, like we open ourselves up to it, right? To say, well, why is it that they said this? Well, why is it? Like, I shut the person down rather than saying, why is it that you feel that way? What is it that I don't know? What is it that I don't see? What is it that I'm not understanding? Because when we open ourselves up to it, then it brings a new level of awareness in, and we can do better ourselves. So,
Jen, I have a question.
yes.
Was there anything in your gut that told you anything?
That's a great question.
Did I ignore my gut? I did. So I did. And because our bodies are very smart, like our bodies keep record of everything. Whether like it's an injury, whether it's the food we eat, like our bodies keep record of everything. And our bodies also keep record of, when we're having a correspondence with somebody, or when we're kind of thinking about doing certain works with them. That feeling that you get sometimes when you're around somebody and you're like, that didn't feel super good.
Your intuition.
Yes, your intuition. And so we have to sort of listen to that as well. And then when it's backed up by other people that are in your trusted group, it is something to listen to. But I did. And then a lot of times, once again, we go against that because we want to give people the benefit of the doubt. And we want to say, they have the ability to build this. Like, I see that, they can do it. I'm going to root for them, right? But yeah, you can feel things when it's not completely, in alignment. Let's see. Characteristics of a good collaboration team. Okay, an open mindset. So you want to work with people and have people, you know how they say if you want something, the quickest way is to get somebody into your arena or get close to somebody that has exactly what it is that you want, because you will become who it is that you're around. It is the truth. And so if you want to become something or you want something, you're gonna, the easiest way is just to find a friend or find somebody that has that, get close to them, and then you kind of naturally become that. So having an open mindset. Have you ever gone into, I actually recently went into a meeting like this. Have you ever gone into like a meeting or a little powwow and you're talking, you're bringing up ideas, and you're talking and you're trying to bring up ideas, and then the other individual's like, that's not gonna work. That doesn't work. No, it's not gonna work. No. And it's the same person, right? It's like the negative Nancy in the room. Like, no, it's not good. We can't do that. We can't do that. That's not gonna work. That's not gonna work. Well, that you don't want that. Like, what you want is you want somebody, you want them to speak their voice, right? But you want people with like an abundance mindset. Like people that will say, well, that might not work because of this, and this. However, maybe we could try this, right? Like to give a solution, to open up the door, like to some conversation, because those negative, like there's nothing worse than that. And so those are the people, you know, obviously you want to steer away from. And then asks and answers questions. So our thinking improves thinking. You need to ask questions and you need to be able to receive questions as well. So you want people in your group or on your team or that you're collaborating with that are going to ask really hard questions and that are going to answer really hard questions. Because if it's always pretty and beautiful and there's no hard questions, then there's really no growth. So you want people that, you know, they're going to bring that dynamic in. And a lot of that sometimes is challenging to receive. So let's say you're with a client and then they're telling you, you're not doing this, and you know, sometimes we automatically get triggered. And then we want to defend ourselves and say, no, I don't do that. I'm not like that. That's not how I am. So, you know, when we start to defend ourselves, that's actually saying that there is something there. There's something there to take a look at, because if you're sure in yourself and you know that that is not what you are, you will not get triggered. You will remain steady. You will be strong. You will be solid, and you will patiently listen and say, you know, thank you for sharing. However, maybe, you know, let's talk about this, or how about we, you know, what can we do to resolve it? Like, it won't bring up that wanting to defend, you know, and those things also, they make a difference with clients, because those are the times when people shut down and then we can't, you know, talk about our transactions in the appropriate way. And so generate ideas. You want people that are gonna, you know, come up with ideas, not just sit there and not say anything or do anything, because then you're collaborating with yourself, right? I mean, you want people that are gonna, like in our Mother of Waters meetings, I love it because we have this group and then we sit there and it's like, let's do this, let's do that. And at the end, we might have like 20 ideas, but at least we have like this pool of ideas that we can now take a look at. And we can, you know, evaluate and say, yeah, like, let's do this. So you want, you know, people that generate ideas. And then the honest feedback. So honest feedback, you got to keep people close to you that give the honest, you know, respectful, compassionate feedback. When you give feedback to somebody, you don't have to attack them. You just give it in a good way to where you're explaining what it is that you need to say, and hopefully they receive it, but it's our delivery in the way that we say things a lot of the time. But you definitely need to have honest feedback people that you're collaborating with in your arena, because here is the thing. Sometimes we miss things, okay? And we miss them with clients and we miss them with our team. We don't see ourselves. And if you have yes people around you that aren't going to tell you things, Lala's not a yes person. Lala will tell me. You keep laughing. I have to point you out. She'll mildly text, no, Jennifer, that is not a good idea. Thank you. Right? But
And then a heart.
and then a heart. Well, a heart will come in after. So that is good. But you want, because if you have yes people, then, you know, where are you getting? You're not getting anywhere. And a lot of the time, if it keeps repeating, and if it's always the client's fault, oh, I have difficult clients, they just demand too much, they're too difficult, every, you know, transaction is a challenge, they're a problem, you're probably the problem, because the common denominator is the problem. And so those are the things, we need people like that in our lives to let us know and to say, this is what I see you're doing, and this is what I feel you need to do to maybe do a little bit better. And those, once again, those little touches make a huge difference in our business. And so, oh, I'm almost out of time. Okay, I want to talk a little bit about like collaboration in the real estate industry. With all of that, said, I've always believed and practiced collaboration. And to a degree where sometimes people would tell me, why are you teaching that other broker how to open up a DFPI escrow step by step? That's your competition. I don't look at it like that. I look at it like I am helping somebody else elevate. And so in your business, and what I can say by doing those things, you bring much more abundance to yourself because you're living in an abundant mindset. If you hold everything close to here and you hold it in and you don't share, this is as far as you're going to get. But if you share and you open up and you're giving, it's a natural cycle to receive. It just opens everything up for you. And so when you're collaborating, find people that you really admire, that you respect, that have the value systems that you have, and really open up to them. And then really have them open up to you. The more you give, and we have, like, this office is amazing. As you notice, like, a lot of our people that teach, they're our agents. They share. Or a lot of our agents are like, give me a call and, I can help so-and-so. There's a lot of collaboration. But, holding it in, it's going to only make it so that you're stifling your business. And so for me, I feel like there's no lack of money in this world. Okay, that I can tell you. There is no lack of money in this world. It's out there. You just have to figure out how to get it. And there's so many avenues to make and get money. There's no lack of resource. There's no lack of anything in this world. The only lack is what we put on ourselves. And so if you live in that abundant mindset, you're going to bring a whole lot more business to yourself while you're helping other people. I feel like the future, like the past, should have been collaboration. Unfortunately, a lot of the time you see people not really, especially in this industry. Like, I had a heck of a time opening up a mortgage company. And I'll tell you why. It took me 1.5 years to do something that might have taken me maybe 3 months. Now, showing somebody else, I can teach them how to do it in 3 months. Because every time I asked anybody in the mortgage industry a question, they never gave me an answer. They never gave me a direction because they were just thinking, well, I don't want to show her how to, that's how I felt. And it was very, very, obvious. And so I feel like there's enough for everybody, and sharing that, it brings, a lot of gifts to everybody. That TikTok that you guys saw at the beginning, do you remember that little TikTok? So that TikTok, you can have all the data and knowledge, right, in your head. You can know every single thing about real estate. You can know every single thing about your market share. You can know you can really be a book educated person and know your business as a 10. Like, you could have a 10 on knowledge. If you are a 3 as a communicator, and you can only communicate at a level 3, everybody, trust me, they will think that you're operating and playing at a level 3. Doesn't matter what you know. That's how important communication is. Yet, like he said, if you can communicate as a 10, but let's say your knowledge is a 3, people are gonna believe that you're operating at a 10, and doors are gonna open. That is the power of communication, and that is how important it is in this business. There's nothing more important. Listen to yourself. Evaluate yourself. I want you guys to write down 3 things that I want to give you guys for homework. Okay, 3 things. And this is, it's kind of fun to do initially because you're going to get a chance to hear yourselves, all right? The first thing, get a piece of paper and write down and evaluate yourself. I want you to evaluate how well you know your business. write an essay on it, write bullet points, write down everything you know about your business and what you feel you know. How well do you know your field, your market share, what you're doing, knowledge? Write it down, take the time to do it. And then read it back to yourself. And if there's a lot of gaps there, and there's a lot of things that you feel are in your industry that you should know, then that's where you know your work is gonna lie. And you have to take a look at it and you have to study and you have to learn those things. Because like I said, nobody will push us to learn and to educate ourselves. The second thing, how well do you know yourself? Okay, take a piece of paper and do the same thing and write down bullet points of how good of a salesman or saleswoman am I? How good of a business person am I? How good of a communicator am I? You know, like how well do you know yourself? Who am I outside of, real estate? What am I about? What are my visions? What's my goal? What do I want? Like, how do I treat people? How do I communicate with people? Like, write down every single thing that you feel you are, and then find a trusted person in your arena. And before you show it to them, say, I want you to read this, but I want you to know no matter what you say, like, I'm looking for feedback. I am looking for not only positive feedback, I'm looking for any feedback, even negative. And you have to be able to take that feedback and say, thank you very much. I appreciate you taking the time to share with me to make me a better human being and a better business person. Okay? The last thing, and this, so you will find somebody, record yourself in a business meeting. Record yourself. You'll find somebody to be able to, if you can't find anybody to do that with, then just role play. Find a friend and do a role play session. Record yourself in the business meeting and then play that recording back and listen to a few things. What's your tone? How do you come across? Are you rambling? Do you say every other word? Because you don't want to pause or you don't want to take a break in what you're saying. Are you coming across nervous? Listen, really listen. Are you letting the other individual speak? What are your twitches? Because we all have them. We all have filler words sometimes that we need to work on. I know my filler word and I have to be conscious of it. My filler word is, and in videos it is. And it's like, I need to really be conscious of it. Like, Jennifer, stop saying, like everybody know, So you have to listen. And I listen to myself and I'm aware of it. And when you are aware of it, you can change it. So really listen. Do you have filler words? Filler words are just a sign of, I don't want to pause. I don't want to take a breather, or I'm afraid to take a breather, or maybe they won't know what I'm going to say. But listen to yourself speak, and then, really see, there you go. There's my filler word, right? Really evaluate how you come across. Are you listening to the individual? Are you talking about yourself the whole time? Nobody cares. Clients want you to talk about what you can do for them. They don't want to hear your story about, well, maybe once you settle into, the conversation or whatever, they will eventually, but you want to make it about them. So those 3 items, I challenge you guys to do that and really evaluate it. Get a trusted person to give you positive and negative feedback, make them feel safe by telling them that's what you're looking for. And trust me, in this market and in any market, you have to operate and utilize every single tool that you have to make yourself the most powerful, best business person that you can. And if you're not working on your communication, if you don't know how to talk to people, if you don't know how to get your message across in an eloquent, productive, direct, compassionate fashion, you're not going to live your full potential as a business person. You will not. I had a conversation with my mother years ago. She has an accent. And she's like, Mija, a lot of times people don't understand what I'm saying. And I said, no, it's not the accent. It's the speed at which you're talking. An accent is never a problem. It's your speed, which is trainable. And so there's never a reason to not practice the way that we talk and communicate with people. And it will open doors if you have that ability to legitimately talk to people and talk to your clients about the positive things and also about the tough conversations. Because what you don't want to be is one of those agents that do not answer their phones because they do not want to have those tough conversations because they don't know how to talk to their clients, rather than just step up, have hard conversations, do it in a productive, good way. And so I leave you with that. Please do these exercises and really take the time to fine-tune communication. If this class, like I said at the beginning of the series last time, if this class was labeled how to get 20 listings in a month, we'd have all 350 agents here, okay? Because all of them would want to know how to get 20 listings in a month. And the thing is that ironically, there's no way you're going to get 20 listings in a month if you do not know how to communicate. You will only get so far. So brush up on your skills, do the work. The future is communication, collaboration, and that is what we need to focus on: self-development, refining ourselves and refining our skills as a human being and as a salesperson and a business person. I leave you with that. I know I used the whole hour. Didn't let anybody talk.
I have a question though about, because a lot of people just don't want to actually pick up the phone and talk. They want text or email, and sometimes I have trouble understanding what they want. So I'll pick up the phone and I'll ask them, what is it that you need, or what is it that, it's other agents that paperwork and all that. So I don't know how to communicate better.
You have to do only what you can do. So the one thing that you cannot force other people to behave or do certain things, right? Like you have to bring it to their attention and say, I'm having a lot of trouble communicating with you. I want to communicate. I want to talk about this, or I would like this resolved. And then as an agent, if they are not responding and they're not giving you the items that you need to have, then you need to document that. And you need to save your emails, because we can only do what we can do. We can't force other people to, answer or anything like that. But at least you need to know that you've done your best. Even when I have brokers or agents call me and they're trying to resolve an issue with another agent, the first thing that I ask them, even though at the time they may think, why is she asking it in this way? I ask them, I'm here to talk to you, but I would like to know what would you like your end result to be for this conversation? What is it that you would like for me to do in order to resolve and for you to walk away happy or satisfied in this conversation? And then if they tell me something that I can't fulfill, I'm honest with them. And I say, unfortunately, that is not going to be the outcome of this conversation. Would you like to continue and troubleshoot the situation? So same thing, for you, you just have to be honest and communicate as much as you possibly can. And then if they're not receiving it, then that's all you can do.
Because sometimes on an email or a text, you don't get the full. It's not like you can pick up the phone and have a dialogue and ask questions.
It's so much different. Yeah,
it is.
It's so much different.
And I'm having trouble with that because I'm used to communicating and, just old school talking to them, and sometimes when I don't understand it, I can take it different ways in a text or an email. I'm thinking, well, I wonder which way they're meaning, you know? So-
Ask them for a conversation, and if they're unwilling to have that conversation, then there's nothing that you can do with that. You'll have to manage the text as best as you can. There's going to, unfortunately, in our industry, fortunately and unfortunately, we have a lot of various types of personalities and people, right? And you're going to get people that they're just, usually when people are not communicating or they're not, let's say, kind in transactions, there's something going on with them, you know, that it's not about. Like, you see a bitter person, you know that it's them, it's internal, you know, it's not everybody else. And all you can do is go to Sonia for that. She did an amazing job this last time with one of her clients. And, you know, she did an amazing job with an agent that was not very professional or communicative, and maintained her cool, and was very polite and very respectful, and that's all you can do. So don't match their energy. It never helps. All right, you guys, thank you very much for being here.